You're listening to SM Media, the number one place for exclusive Scottish football content.
Hi everyone and welcome to the debut edition of the SM Media Scottish Football Show for 2022-23. I'm Scott McPike. It's an absolute pleasure to be back on the show. It's been a while since we've done this show and it's a pleasure to welcome back the one and only Marc Wilson. Wilson, it's been a while since we've been on together, but it's a pleasure to see that face again. How are we?
I'm sure it isn't a pleasure seeing that face. And it's great to be back, Scott. I know you've obviously had your personal issues to deal with, but it's great you've kind of put the focus because, believe it or not, my fan base has been crying out for this show to get back on a Sunday. There have been thousands of letters and all that being sent to me to get this show back on the road. So it's great to be back, and just a wee shout out to our pal Shankers, who's not on tonight, but hopefully he'll be back with us soon enough as well, buddy.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to be back. Obviously, with Wilson as well. It's been a while since we've been on together, but it is good to be back on the show. It's a pleasure to welcome back as well, Charlie Richmond. Charlie, welcome back to the show. It's a pleasure to have you on.
Thanks, Scott. Can only echo what Marc says about your personal side of things, and I don't have a fan base, so I don't care what it's like.
But it's good to be back. It's good to be back and good to have Charlie on as well. Made his debut on the show. Welcome to the show, Lewis Anderson. Lewis, a pleasure to welcome you on. Thanks for coming on.
Cheers, Scott. Yeah, much appreciated. Great to be on and looking forward to this evening.
Yeah, it's going to be an absolutely fascinating show. We are only, as we stand, 48 hours away from the season kicking off. We're recording this show on Thursday night, hopefully to get out on Friday afternoon. Wilson, before we get into talking about this season upcoming, last season we obviously cut the show a bit earlier than we were planning to. What was your overall thoughts on last season? What did you miss talking about over the course of the kind of few months we were away?
Well, actually, as much as former guest Rory Lloyd frequently texts me about my predictions last year, and they say that Rangers would win the league by double figures, I'll keep pointing out to him that I did predict that Kelly would also win the league. I did also have Darvo to win the league as well, if you remember correctly. So I think my predictions outweighed my failures, so to speak. Last year, again, circumstances dictated, but I think the highlight for me was definitely Seville. Obviously, the dread of Rangers winning that UEFA Cup was consuming me. But again, I know when I say this, I'm with a wee kid on with the Rangers supporters, but I think if Roof or Morelos had been fit, I think there would have been a completely different outcome to that game. I really do think that. I think if I was a Rangers supporter, player, whoever, and involved in the last, I think was it Zenit in the last one in 2008. I don't think you'll ever get two better chances to win a European trophy, and they came up short, both times, which I found incredible. I really did. I genuinely did think Rangers were better in the night track. Maybe not on the night, but when I looked at the stuff before the game, and I think it was the fella from Hibs, that Ron Gordon had an interview saying that Rangers have been carrying Scottish football in terms of European stuff for a few years now, and that's very, very true. But again, I was very surprised they came up short. But then you had Kelly winning the league comfortably. At the end of the day, Derek McInnes was brought in to do that particular job and get us over the line, which he did. So that was obviously a highlight as well. And again, and I know we've had a wee bit of banter on our chat back and forth. Big losses at some of the teams as well. I think it was Gormley, David Gormley at Corn Rangers had put on about some, like how is Gio Aribo leaving for 6 million, or supposedly 6 million? I know they've got a big kind of transfer for Bassey. It's a wee bit, things like that kind of do upset me with Scottish football. They can just come and pinch players for, a very small part of their actual value. But as I say, last season now done and dusted. There's big things to look forward to. Again, we've just been talking off air about the introduction of VAR. There's a World Cup this year. There's an automatic Champions League space. There's a couple of qualifiers for Rangers to try and navigate through. And as I say, there'll be plenty of football on the telly between now and the end of the season, which is superb.
Yeah, absolutely. Charlie, what you kind of looking forward to this season? I know VAR's going to be probably something we'll bring up over the course of the season. Which are kind of thoughts for the season ahead?
Season ahead, I think, going to be between Rangers and Celtic. I genuinely do think there'll be a bigger gap with the rest of them. And also, I think it will be really, really important with the World Cup for teams to hit the ground running and get the points on the board early. If you can do that, then everybody has a bad run. You never want to go into the last 6-7 games in a bad run. So it's so important to get points on the board. VAR's going to be interesting. It's going to be a talking. We're even talking about the fact that it's coming in mid-season. Yes, you get the technology, you get it in as quick as you can. There'll be always the tit for tat. Well, this happened, that happened. I'm a firm believer if you've got the technology and get it in. But I thought it would have come in on the semi-finals of the Scottish Cup and League Cups and the finals to trial it and to try and get the teething problems out the road and then bring it into the full league campaign the following season. But the guys at the top of the tree are obviously making those decisions. So you hit it and we'll see how it goes. And as Mark says, I might be on here regular trying to defend and talk about decisions of why this and why that. So, but I don't know if the general public know, I don't know if everything, but VAR is currently getting trialled at the moment. There will be cameras at SPL matches this weekend and throughout just to see how it works and again to firefight and try and solve any problems between the base at Hampden and the games. So just something to make you aware of. It's what's actually happening now. So they might actually come out weekly, monthly, or whatever, and open up a can of worms and say, well, this decision should have been changed and that decision should have been changed. Probably no, that. But looking forward to it. New season. There's always talking points, which is brilliant, and there's also people who fly under the radar, and there's also people who fly over the radar.
Mm-hmm. Lewis is obviously as well. A few clubs have been busy over the summer bringing in players. What has been your eye-catching things over the summer? What's kind of caught your eye?
There's been numerous new signings this season, Scott, that have kind of really caught the eye. I think I'll touch on Aberdeen firstly. I think the new Macedonian striker they've brought in, Bojan Miovski, he looks a really talented player. I watched the game against Raith Rovers at the weekend there, and he certainly looks sharp, making his debut there. Obviously got in the score sheet as well, so that will give him plenty of confidence going into the new season. I think Hearts as well, bringing in Lawrence Shankland, a fantastic bit of business for him if he can get back to the type of form we know that he's capable of. He showed at Dundee United. Obviously the move to Belgium didn't quite work out for him, but I think in terms of Hearts, especially going into their European campaign, I think Shankland is a fantastic addition for them. And another one that I like the look of is John Souttar going to Rangers. I had a chat the other day with Stevie Campbell, who previously was his youth coach at Dundee United, and he's tipping him to become a Rangers legend. He thinks that he's got kind of all the attributes and the qualities to really play at the highest level. So they are the kind of three signings that have really caught the eye so far.
Brilliant. Right, let's get into it. We are going to go down the list. We've got our predictions for the season ahead. We are going to come back on the show in May and see how right and wrong we were. The loser will buy the winner. We'll buy something. We'll work something out over the course of the season. Right, we'll go around the panel for each thing. We'll go first and second. Who's going to win the league and who's going to be runners up? We'll start. I'll always go last just to give you a bit of time to kind of get your platform across what you think about the season ahead. Wilson, first and second, who we got?
You've no idea, and I'm probably the same as the rest of the guys, how long you spent on this. Up until about 7 o'clock tonight, I had written Celtic down a couple of times. Again, I think it will come down to the European exploits. I think that's possibly where kind of Rangers ran out, of kind of fatigue last season with a long run. Will Rangers have this, will they be in the Champions League, playing the midweek games all the time? I think, have they not got to fit this Champions League games in before the World Cup starts? Is that right?
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
It's going to be Wednesday. And I know they'll get some will get a kind of winter break as such with the World Cup's on. And then I look at the signings and I'm trying to marry it up, and then I'd spoken to someone that had been at the Norwich game and they said Celtic were unbelievable. Then Rangers beat West Ham, and then they had a good performance by all accounts against Spurs. So it's really tight. It was really tight, but I just think whoever continues longer in Europe will not win the league. So that's what it comes down to. But if I'm going to be honest, it's up to 7 o'clock tonight. I'd written down Celtic just ahead of Rangers.
So you've got Celtic first, Rangers second. Charlie, what's your thoughts on the 1-2? Who have we got?
Yeah, I agree with Wilson to a certain extent. The European campaign always does it for that. I'm going to base my judgment on Celtic have just, in the transfer market, have turned a lot of loan players into permanent. So they were there last year. So they've got that hit the ground running aspect of knowing how they play and so forth and so forth. Rangers have had to bring in, don't get me wrong, obviously quality players, but they've got to jail, injuries and stuff like that. So cut a long story short, I'm going for Celtic to win the league and Rangers to finish runners-up.
Okay, Lewis, what's your thoughts on this? The 1-2, who have we got?
I'm going for, I think, it's a tough one to call. It really is. I think it could be, even closer than it has been in recent years. I think it will go right down to the wire again, but I'm going for Celtic to retain their crown. I think both teams have recruited well in the transfer window so far this summer, Scott. Rangers have obviously found it difficult to keep hold on to certain players. Obviously, that was always going to happen on the back of the European exploits last season. There was always going to be interest in certain players. Joe Aribo, Calvin Bassey in particular, there'll be massive losses. In terms of the players, Van Bronckhorst is obviously brought in. You could say, I think Rangers are slightly stronger than last season, particularly in attack. But I think Celtic have obviously managed to retain almost the entire core of their squad. He's managed to obviously secure the permanent deals for Cameron Carter, Vickers and Jota on permanent deals, which is obviously fantastic business. They saw the impact they made last season. Jota in particular, I think he's one of the most exciting destined for the top. So beyond that, obviously they managed to strengthen in other areas as well. So on that basis, I think Celtic will edge it. For me, I think Rangers will finish runners up. Obviously, from their perspective, they brought in Antonio Kolak, Tondo, Tom Lawrence, and John Suter as well. They've all really shown up quite well, I think, in my eyes, in pre-season, the games I've watched. And Kolak in particular, he looks a real target man for them, and he'll provide some competition for Morelos, which has been severely lacking for a few seasons now, in my view. He's impressed me again with his movement, particularly against Tottenham. I thought he was brilliant the other night in the friendly there at Ibrox. So he's looking sharp. I think Lawrence is another clever piece of business, and all the new signings certainly appear to have settled in really well, which will be crucial. I think Rangers need to get off to a fast start again. They've also got some good young academy players, I think, that are worth pointing out coming through the youth setup, but they'll obviously need a bit more time to develop. So I just think Celtic's squad is a wee bit stronger in paper, and yes, I think they have the upper hand at present.
So 3 votes for Celtic to finish first and 3 votes for Rangers. I am putting out a column on Saturday of how I think this could be the closest title race since 2003. I cannot split these two. Now, the logical thing would be to go for Celtic first, Rangers second, to kind of go with you three, but it's so hard. I think the I think we can probably agree the kind of big thing that split these two this season was Celtic were far more consistent in the wee run that went on from the Livingston game. I don't think they lost a game from that Livingston game. Rangers were dropping kind of wee silly points here and there. Celtic obviously won the two big Old Firm games. So I think that was a kind of, and as Wilson says, the Rangers run in Europe, I think, kind of took their focus from the league. I kind of agree. I think Celtic won, Rangers 2, but I think it's going to be very, very tough. I think it's going to be so close. I mean, that the league, the 2003, it came down to 1 goal. I can see something similar happening this year. I think it could be really, really close. Right, let's go for third. Who's going to finish third? It's Hearts, obviously, to lose again this season. Charlie, what do we think of third place? Are we sticking with Hearts or are we going elsewhere?
No, I'm sticking with Hearts. And the basis of Robbie Nielsen knows what he wants, knows what his players want, and brings that type of player in for that side. I don't know if Shanklin, he scored a lot of goals in that side, but did he really do a lot at Dundee United with regards to there? So a big loss for Hearts will be the boys Sims, who they obviously couldn't get back in the loan as much as trying for there. But Robbie manages the way he plays, and if you do the business, you'll keep your place, your jerseys there to hold on to. So I'm going for Hearts to finish third.
Hearts to finish third for Charlie. I agree. I think Hearts will finish third. I think they'll be pretty comfortable, same as last season. Lewis, who you got for third place?
I'm going for Aberdeen, Scott.
Okay.
I think it. Obviously, they can't afford to have another season like they did last year. But Jim Goodwin has certainly had the backing of the board this summer. He appears to have assembled a really rejuvenated squad on the back of the kind of extensive squad overhaul he's performed this summer. Judging by their form in the Premier Sports Cup, I thought they won all 4 of their group games really convincingly. I think they've also managed to recruit 2 international players as well, which they haven't done in a long time, Ramadani and Miovski. So I think they have the money in the bank now, obviously on the back of selling Calvin Ramsey as well to Liverpool. So far at the moment, I think they're spending it wisely. I still think they've actually got another player who has got the potential to really excite the fans as well. We haven't seen him yet, Luis Lopez, that they signed from Benfica earlier this month. Obviously, there's been a lot of chat around Hearts, even potentially trying to lay it up to Rangers and Celtic this year, but I'm just not convinced. This, I think, with their hopefully they obviously do go on a decent run in Europe, but I just think I think Aberdeen are in for a big season. Jim Goodwin finally, hopefully, finishing up in that top half of the table. I know he hit the bar a couple of times with St Mirren, so he'll be desperate to have a good season with them.
So you've got Aberdeen to go third. Wilson, who you got for third place?
Yeah, I'm going with Hearts. I just don't. I don't see the Jim Goodwin thing working at all. As Lewis says, I know he's signed some good players and he's been given a wee bit of money with the sale of Ramsey and whatnot. But I just don't see that. I kind of see Aberdeen slightly kind of poison chalice since McInnes left. A couple of managers have been in and whatnot. And I'm not having Jim Goodwin as a top 3 manager either. Not that he's done anything against me or anything. I think Jim Goodwin kind of peaked at St Mirren, and then it was just a case of maybe possibly been there a wee bit too long, and obviously he's going to jump at the Aberdeen job if you're offered it. But I don't just see that knitting quite well together at all. So I do think Aberdeen will be much better than they were last year. But no, it's Hearts for me. I think Robbie Nielsen's been very shrewd in the transfer market. I think you'll maybe see them play a wee bit different this year, Hearts. I think they'll be getting the ball down and playing a more kind of European style of football. A lot of passing from the back and whatnot. But I just think, and it probably comes down to budgets. Now these budgets probably very similar to Hearts, but I just think Nielsen's used to being up that end of the table, and I think that just will count for a wee bit extra. So I'm going Hearts, definitely.
Just on the back of that, Mark, I was just going to say, obviously, the rest of the league last year, Hearts finished miles clear of the rest. Everyone, Hibs and Aberdeen in particular, dreadful seasons by their own standards. So you look at the teams who did manage to sneak into the top half of the table as well. Don't get me wrong, it's a brilliant achievement. But we're talking about a poor Motherwell side, and a Ross County team who are probably unlikely to finish much higher than they did. So I think that says a lot as well. Hopefully,
well, I totally agree with you. And as I say, I've been in these discussions and chats all week. And as I say, we'll probably touch on a wee bit later. But I would not surprise me if Kilmarnock finished in the top 6. And it's not because I think Kilmarnock will be absolutely brilliant or anything this season, but it's because of how poor I think the rest are. I think this is the poorest Livingston, St Johnstone, St Mirren, Motherwell, you'll see in a long time. I think Dundee United might be okay. Hibs are, I think, going to have another real poor season as well. So there you go. So you're thinking, if Derek McInnes he's not going to replicate what he did at Aberdeen, because I thought it was great what he did at Aberdeen. But I'm quite sure deep down Derek McInnes is thinking, I'll be quite happy to finish 10th this year. But as I say, with how poor some of the rest of the teams are, if they finish 6th, 5th, maybe not 4th, 6th or 5th, then I would be delighted, but I wouldn't be surprised.
So we've got obviously the top 3 kind of lined up. We'll go to Lewis for the 11th and 12th. Who you got finishing in the bottom 2?
This was a tough decision, Scott, but I'm going to say Livingston. I just have concerns over their recruitment this summer. I feel they've been punching above their weight over the last 2 years. David Martindale needs all the plaudits that come his way. The job he's done there, reaching the latter stages of the cup competitions and obviously securing a top 6 finish 2 years ago last season was again an undoubted success for them, given that they've got one of the smallest budgets in the league. They picked up their second highest ever points tally as well, and narrowly missed out on the top 6 again. But I just reckon they might struggle this time around. It's always quite hard to know what to make of their new signings. The relative unknown quantities Martindale brings in. But he's proved he's got a good eye for a player. And Celtic and Rangers, for example, have always found it notoriously difficult going through there to play them at the Tony Macaroni. But I just feel opposition teams might have them sussed out now in terms of the style of football they like to play, the way they almost bully opposition teams with the kind of their aggressive approach. I just feel, other managers might have an idea how to kind of combat that this season. You look at the start they made last summer as well, just 4 points, I think it was, in their first 8 games, before Bruce Anderson kind of helped turn their fortunes around with the goals he scored. They haven't experienced a big turnover of players this summer, but I'm just not convinced of the calibre of player that he's brought in this summer. Jamie Brandon, who struggled to get into the Hearts team, he had several opportunities to do so. Ismail Goncalves as well did well during his time at St Mirren previously, but again, he's 31, he's not getting any younger. And is he going to score 15 goals a season? I'm not so sure. And Philip Kankar as well, the Australian defender, he was playing youth football in Australia before moving to Scotland. So I just think it'll be a tough year for them. Another thing as well that I kind of noted last season was that they seem to struggle a lot from set plays, both in terms of attacking and defending as well. So that certainly needs to be rectified, and just a genuine lack of a backup striker to me, to Anderson, is worrying. Martindale, I found it a bit strange that he allowed young Jack Hamilton to go on loan again. He did fantastically well during his 2 loan stints at Arbroath. So that was a peculiar decision. So I think Livingston are set to struggle this year.
So you've got Livingston to 12th or 11th?
11th. Yeah.
11th, right. Okay, who you got 12th?
St Johnstone.
St Johnstone, right, okay.
For them this season, Callum Davidson, he's already etched his name into the club's history books because of obviously what he achieved at the domestic cup competition. Winning both trophies was just an unthinkable achievement for a team outside of the Old Firm. They endured it was a disappointing campaign last year, obviously narrow avoiding relegation against Inverness in the playoffs. But and the early evidence so far this season, I don't think they've improved much either. The new players they've brought in to replace, the talented guys that they've lost, the likes of Ali McCann, Jason Kerr, Sean Rooney, Callum Hendry even as well. They just don't seem to be up to scratch, the new recruits. So it'll be sad to see them go. Don't get me wrong, they're a great wee club. But I just can't see them not being able, and they'll definitely be involved in a dogfight at the bottom of the table. And as well, they've lost the experience of Xander Clark. You got to touch on him as well between the sticks. That's another major blow. But I just think they're destined for the drop this year, unfortunately.
So you've got Livingston 11th and St Johnstone 12th. Wilson, who you got finishing in the bottom two?
Livingston 12th. This is their season. I echo everything that Lewis said.
You said that last season.
I know, and it was a fluke. But no, it's Livingston's turn this year. I think they will really struggle. They'll have their usual 4 good games against Celtic and put in a performance. But in terms of results over a season, I don't look at any of the Livingston team and think I would take him at Kilmarnock, or I think he's good. They're all. It's a well-run club, and you can't criticise the job that David Martindale's done. But I just think it's going to be a step too far for him this year. This morning I had St Johnstone sitting in 11th, but I think St Johnstone will be quick to make a change if even the first 6 weeks of the season. I think there could be a few casualties before the World Cup even. So I've got St Mirren to finish 11th. I don't think the Robinson project's going to work. I think they'll make a change very early in the season as well. I don't think they've signed anyone that I would think, that's a great signing for St Mirren. I know Robinson had a fairly decent record at the start at Motherwell. He knows the league well. But again, we've been overtaken Alan Power back, which I think is a great signing for us. He was very good at Kilmarnock. And I don't see that lasting. Again, if they make changes, managerial changes, then I think I'd possibly change my mind. But no, I've plumped for St Mirren 11th and Livingston 12th.
Charlie, who you got finishing the bottom two in this season?
11th, I've got Motherwell and St Johnstone, 12th. Motherwell have just went out of Europe.
Yeah.
I've just, again...
Just finished 2-0 to Sligo on the night and 3-0 in aggregate. Another the classic, the traditional Scottish football embarrassment before the season starts is Motherwell's this season.
Yeah, and it looked and sounded as if Motherwell actually get hammered on the night as well from that point. 1, 2, 3 players in for Motherwell. For there,
and you still don't replace Tony Watt.
And that's another thing as well. Yeah. One of the things we were told, or we always looked for in the thing, there was the second season. You always judged a manager in the second season. And unfortunately, I think Alexander is I don't think he's got the temperament to turn things around. I think he's a kind of in-your-face manager. And a lot of players, if you're going with young players, will go into a shell with regards to that. And St Johnstone, 2 guys have hit the nails on the head. Yeah, I think it's, if you're down there and you're no use with being down there, I think it's very difficult to get you back out. We talk about a club, Hamilton were down there season after season after season after season. Sometimes they get out, sometimes they didn't. St Johnstone have been down there last season. I think they'll be down this year, and I don't think they'll get out this season. So finishing bottom 12, St Johnstone and Motherwell 11th.
I have got 12th St Mirren. I think I echo what Wilson says. I've got kind of doubts about that whole thing. I just don't think they're a really good side, to be honest. I think Stephen Robinson, I was surprised he left Morecambe to go to St Mirren. I really was. I know it's a bigger job, but Morecambe, there was a lot of progress taken at Morecambe, so I didn't understand that at the time. But Declan Gallagher's the only really signing that they've made this season that's caught my eye. I think he'll help them with goals. I think he's kind of looking to get back into kind of Scotland set up, but I don't really see St Mirren doing very much, to be honest. I've got St Mirren 12th, and I agree on Motherwell. I think Motherwell will finish 11th. I just think they're going to have a symbolic season. I think we'll be very surprised if Graham Alexander is a manager by the time this show goes out. And that's maybe quick to say, but you don't survive those sort of things. Wilson will tell you about Alessio, even Caixinha, the European.
Was that the guy in charge at when Kilmarnock played Nomads?
Yes.
Aye.
Once that's on your record, it's very difficult to get back from.
Sacked them when we were 5th in the Premier League.
Yeah, but there was, and I think was there not a thing as well. Obviously, I wasn't kind of up to date with the kind of whole thing over the past few months. But was there not a thing that Alexander was arguing with fans as well? Look back a couple of months ago, there was a
I think there was an incident. Yeah,
I think there's just when the fans are kind of against you and there's a result like that, I think it's very difficult to survive.
Mm-hmm.
They might obviously if they bring in a kind of a manager after that, but I think if they stick with Alexander, I think it could be problem. And they started really well last season, but they didn't finish well. As we said, losing Tony Watt and not replacing him to me is crazy. I like the boy Van Veen, I really do. I think he's a good player. I think the boy Woolery's left as well. So he went to Turkey or something.
That's right.
Yes.
Like as I say, like there's just not a lot, and a couple of signings like Blair Spittle, Paul McGinn, a couple of good kind of SPFL players, but not replacing your main goal scorer. I think it's weird. So I've got Motherwell 11th and St Mirren 12th. Right, overachievers, and we'll go with Wilson for this first. Overachievers, I would say last season were Ross County, kind of teams that you would expect to kind of finish bottom 6, who end up kind of surprising us. Who you got for overachievers? I think me and you've got the exact same.
I think the overachievers will be Kilmarnock.
Yeah, I agree.
As I said, I've got a few qualms about the first 3 games we've got, to be fair. But again, against, as I say, I think some of the teams are going to be really poor. Now, again, and this is where the balance is. I've had many discussions with people over the last few days about this. You know, I think last kind of time when it was Tommy Wright, I think when Alessio came in, we had good players but a kind of poor manager. Whereas this time, I think we've got a fantastic manager and not a great set of players, a good set of players. And I think Derek McInnes has seen it. Again, I think his target, he won't say it out loud, but finish 10th, stay up. And then a lot of these guys that have got us out the Championship, you know, he'll be able to, you know, they'll be out of contract and he'll be able to bring in even more of who he wants. I think he bought guys in last year just to do the job, Lafferty, etc. Yeah. And I think that will be the same this year. And then there'll be a good few out of contract this time next year. And then he'll be able to bring some in. And as I say, I think because of the poor quality of the teams that we've kind of just mentioned there, I think as an overachievement if Kelly finished top 6. So I'm going for Kelly.
Yeah, I'm with you, Kelly. I think they've done well. I think their business so far this summer's been really good. I love the signing of Kerr McInroy. He done really well at Airdrie. Then went on to Ayr. I think there was a lot of people with it that I know within the Ayr support who were desperate to get him in, but Kelly have swooped for him. I think the signing of Jones will actually go under the radar. I think he's somewhere he's going to be. He was happy at Kilmarnock. I think he was settled. I think he obviously went to Rangers and just, I think again to a bit of
himself in the foot.
He just got a shot. He shot himself in the foot. He went to Wigan, I think it was. He just never settled there. St Mirren didn't work out. The best time he's had in his career was at Kilmarnock, and that was when I think he was under a good manager. I think Steve Clark kind of had him mollycoddled. I think McInnes could probably do the same. I like the signing of Donnelly. It was at Motherwell as well. That's another good signing. I think Kilmarnock. I think top 6 is, and I think as well as you say, I think there's a lot of teams that are going to struggle. I think Kilmarnock could sweep under the radar. I've got Kilmarnock for overachievers. Charlie, who you got for overachievers?
Well, I'm looking for a wee bit of a clarification. And how do you define overachieving?
Well,
if you were meant to be in the bottom 6 and you finished in the top 6, so that's an overachievement.
Well, I would go.
Well, last year Rangers getting to Europa League Cup final. No, but see, in all seriousness, in terms of Scottish football, etc., budgets. I mean, they beat Dortmund, Leverkusen teams. I think that's an overachievement.
I would say teams
like sat down at the start of the season. you wouldn't have picked Rangers to win the Europa League or even be in the final. So that's
I'm going by like top six in like the bookmakers. You've got Hearts odds on, Hibs odds on, Aberdeen odds on, and Motherwell odds on for some reason. Like, I would say that's your over it. I would say those are your teams you're expecting top six. So a team maybe below that you think could maybe.
Well, I sat this morning and went through, and I'm actually going for Livingston.
Okay.
I think Livingston will overachieve by finishing 7th.
Right, okay.
I've got them down to finishing 7th.
Because I'll have 2 pints of what Charlie's been on tonight. I'll have a couple of them and keep me going.
I know they've lost a few good players and stuff like that, right? But Martindale seems to be a player's manager. He seems to take the pressure off the players. And the statement he made last season, we're not going to be relegated, was a massive statement to say and take the pressure right off the players and get on with it for that side. So I think Livingston will overachieve. And the reason I've set the standard is I think they'll finish top of the bottom. I think they'll finish 7th, and as an overachievement for Livingston.
Right, okay. So Livingston overachievers for Charlie. Lewis, your overachievers, you think who's gonna go under the radar this season? Who's gonna do well?
For me, Scott, I'm going Dundee United.
Okay.
I think they'll finish comfortably in the top 6 this year. I think they're a better team than they were last season. I think they will continue to improve under Jack Ross. I've always kind of rated as a manager. I think he's a good fit for Dundee United as well. I think they could even be in the mix for a 3rd, 4th place finish this year. I really do. I think they'll be firmly in the mix. It might take Ross a wee while just to get his team kind of sorted out, but obviously he has brought in a good couple of additions now. But I think they'll come good as the season progresses. I know they've got Kilmarnock at Rugby Park in the first game, so that'll be an interesting one. They obviously, they've got European football as well, albeit a probably brief stint. I know they're playing AZ Alkmaar, which will be a tough task. But again, it'll be interesting to see how they compete in that one. But I think their squad looks strong at the minute. They managed to get Dylan Levitt back from Manchester United, which is a fantastic piece of business. I think Dylan Levitt will finish the season as Young Player of the Year this year. I really do. I think he looks a fantastic talent. I'm kind of surprised United have let him go. And they've added good experience as well. And Stephen Fletcher, who's obviously talked about how he wants to come in and play in more of a mentor role for a lot of the younger lads. Craig Sibbald as well, and Mark Bergetti, the new Australian goalkeeper as well. He's been playing at Western Sydney Wanderers, I think it was. So again, I can see them having another really successful campaign and also reaching the latter stages of both domestic cup competitions. So Dundee United, my overachievers.
Brilliant. Who we got for underachievers, Wilson?
Hibs.
I think we're agreeing on that.
I think it's just going to be an absolute shit show at Hibs. I see they've lost McGeady now for 3 months. That was kind of swaying me. I still think McGeady's got a wee bit to offer.
And I see this morning the link with Mikey Johnson.
Aye, that they deserve to finish 12th if they sign Mikey Johnston, to be fair. But as I say, I think the Sean Maloney experiment doesn't work. And you can go down the route of what's dinosaurs or Scottish football, they don't get enough time, etc., etc. No managers don't get time. You're not telling me, and I know we're listening to your predictions, but you're not telling me if Van Bronckhorst doesn't win the league again, he's not under pressure to be sacked. That's just the nature in Scottish football. These guys are only going to get time. As I say, that's I touched on earlier. Not that I think a lot of these managers will be sacked, but Kelly's first 3 games are Dundee United, Rangers, Celtic. You don't pick up anything for that. McInnes is under pressure. There's no getting away from it. And as I say, Lee Johnson's come in a fairly good record at Bristol City, I think it was. But again, I think Hibs. I think in hindsight they just have kept Jack Ross, to be honest. But I think Hibs needs something like a steady pair of hands, somebody like Alex McLeish or something that's just going to come in and settle them down for a couple of seasons, experienced manager rather than this trial and error that they're doing. And as I say, for the budget and for the players that they're signing, I think Hibs will be big underachievers and they'll be a bottom 6 team this year.
I had Aberdeen written down up until Sunday. I just thought losing Ferguson and losing Ramsey, I thought would be crazy. But I watched them on Sunday against Wraith, and I thought they were really good. Actually, I agree with you. I agree with you. And the boy Mazowski, is it Makovsky? I think it's something like that. He looks a good player. I think as well. They're signing, as you say, they're spending a bit of money and they're bringing in good players. I think McCrory could be a breakout. I think he could have a breakout season. I've always thought he once he gets a good run of games and a kind of solid partner next to him. I think Bates is away. I think they've brought somebody else in to kind of go alongside him. I know.
£5 million.
Aye, with Ronnie Dyle, I think.
Is there no Legia Warsaw he's away to?
I think there's Ronnie Dyle, no, the manager there.
I thought he was somewhere in Belgium. No?
He's in Belgium. He's under the edge. He's
under the edge. Somebody's away with Ronnie Dyle. I'm getting myself mixed up. But
Mikey Johnson was linked there.
Yeah, maybe something like that. But like I think Aberdeen. I did have Aberdeen written down, but once I saw them on Sunday, I think they'll be top 6. I don't think they'll be challenging third, but I think they'll do pretty. I think they'll certainly be better than last season, which probably won't be difficult. But I've got Hibs. I just think that experiment could just go down a cliff pretty quickly. I think there's already there's some wee problems kicking out with kind of Lee Johnson and the SFA about that. But did you hear about that Bashiri signing?
There was that, and then he was going on about the schedule of the League Cup and all that.
They signed that boy Bashiri and loan for Norwich, and I don't think a lot of people rated him at Hibs, but there was a clause in his contract if he played over 20 games, he was going to automatically get a permanent contract, and Hibs had sent out a farewell message, and they turned out they'd signed him permanently. So, and he was ineligible for the League Cup. So,
mess.
It just things like that. But recruitment, I like the sound of the guy for Zagreb. They've signed the left back to replace Doige. I think he looks pretty decent. McGeady, obviously the injury. I think there's a lot of things. You need to obviously get Nisbet and Doige firing as well. I think they obviously wanted rid of Doige, but I think he's kind of back in favour. I just think the Hibs. I don't see Lee Johnson being there long, and I think you're right. I think a steady pair of hands is exactly what Hibs need. Charlie, who have you got as underachievers?
I've got Hibs as well, guys. But the thing that I'm basing my thought process on is I think Hibs off the park, there's something wrong. And there's been something wrong for 18 months, a year. When you look at the people going out the door, and correct me if I'm wrong, but is Ron Gordon American?
Yeah, I think so.
You've got Ron Gordon coming in for America, and there's a lot of hassle. The boy coming in for America up to Aberdeen, there's a lot of hassle. So I don't know if the American way, the American thought process is going to work in Scottish football for that, and what they're trying to do and what they're going. And I don't want to stereotype all Americans, but some people come in and shout their mouth off and try and bully their way into things for that. So I think Hibs are going to be massively underachieving for off the park reasons. And I think as soon as the team get a few bad results, the crowd are going to turn in the players, turn in the manager, and turn in the board. And once that happens, there really becomes an unrest throughout the platforms of your club. And that's why I think Hibs will really struggle. And they might finish 6th, but they'll not be challenging. They'll not be latter stages of cups or what they were in previous years. And that's my thought process.
So three for Hibs so far. Lewis, are we completing that for Hibs as well?
Yep, clean sweep, Scott. Yeah, obviously you touched on everything there. Lee Johnson got off to a wretched start. They're out of the Premier Sports Cup already. It's a tad surprising, in all honesty, because I thought in a couple of their early pre-season games that I tuned into, I thought they looked all right, but they obviously lost to Falkirk. They couldn't beat Morton at Easter Road either, which will be a real concern going into the new season. In terms of recruitment, I've got to disagree with you. I've been slightly underwhelmed with the players they brought in all honesty. I think McGeady is past it. I do. I think his best days are behind him. Obviously, Josh Doy goes away, and I'm sure we all agree that we wish him the best of luck out in Italy. But for me, they just look to be lacking creativity. I know they still need to get Doige and Nisbet back and firing on all cylinders, but in particular, I think their midfield looks really weak. I really do. I think Jake Doyle-Hayes and Josh Campbell, these boys just haven't convinced me that they're really good enough. You know, a long time ago, they had guys like John McGinn and stuff pulling the strings in there. So I think the Hibs midfield in particular is really weak. I was actually chatting away to a couple of Sunderland fans on holiday. Lee Johnson, obviously previous manager there, and they were informing me saying that they didn't think he was very good tactically either during his time at the Stadium Lights. So I think it could be another long, hard season for the Hibbies.
So it's a clean sweep for Hibs. Let's go into signing to watch. Charlie, who's your signing to watch for the season ahead?
I was fortunate or unfortunate to be at Rugby Park on Saturday, and I don't know how you pronounce his name, but the boy on loan from Arsenal, Ryan Alibosu.
He had a good game in Saturday. Well, good first half. He'll play the first half, but a good game.
He only played the first half. That's the first time I saw him. But to get a man of a match
He played
on that performance, no disrespect to Steno Smear, but I thought he looked really, really good as a potential wing back in a 3-5-2, or as your out and out right back in a 4-4-2 or whatever for that side. His work rate, he's up and down the park, his willingness to go and win the ball, to create, to get to the byline. I think he assisted in 2 goals, if I'm right, as well. So I really liked him with regards to that. So on face value and seeing them live, I thought he looked a signing, a player to watch, a bit like Regan Charles Cook for Ross County last year. A player to watch, really come up it from that point.
So that's a name for the notepad. Wilson, who you got for signing to watch?
I've actually got Tom Lawrence.
Okay.
I think he'll be a real good SPFL player. I think he's got a bit of aggression. He's big. I think he'll score goals. Whether he's going to score as many as Morelos, I don't know. But I think, you know, he could be the one that kind of keeps pace and keeps Rangers, you know, up the top. I think he'll be the one that scores the goals. Again, obviously, I've not seen any of the games, but I did like him at Derby. I thought he done well at Derby County. And I think and again, not for much money, so that's why I've kind of put him as a kind of a shrewd sign. I think he'll be good. I'll be going, he's getting 15 to 20 goals this year.
Okay, Tom Lawrence for Wilson. Lewis, who you got?
Sticking with Rangers, but I'm going for Rabbi Matondo.
Okay.
Welsh international. Obviously, £2.5 million signing this summer from Schalke in the Bundesliga. I thought he made an immediate impression when he scored against West Ham after coming off the bench within a couple of minutes. His pace, he's got great dribbling ability. And
thought that about Diallo last year. It's Ross County. This guy will score 50 goals.
I don't know. I just got a good feeling about Matondo. I don't know what it is, Mark, but you know, he's. I've seen him a couple of times for Wales, and I just think he looks a real good player. You know, it was a similar story I thought against Tottenham as well on Saturday. His ability early on, winning back possession without the ball, his work rate looks really good. I think Rangers have got good depth in attack now, obviously with the likes of Lawrence, Kent, Tillman, also competing for a starting place. So it'll be tough for Matondo to obviously initially break into the team. But you know, he spent the last 3 years in Germany, working in obviously one of Europe's best leagues. I think will stand him in good stead. And I'm intrigued to see where he plays. I'm kind of thinking that he might. I know he spent a lot of time on the left wing last year with Schalke, but the right hand side has been where Rangers. I
think he's been brought in to be a right sided. Yeah. I think that's been a gap Rangers have been looking to fill for a good couple of years, and I think he's
And I think he could be the answer to that kind of problem position. He's only 21. He's already gained a lot of first team experience as well since he left. I think it was the Cardiff City Academy. Struggled initially in Germany, but last season he went on loan to Cercle Bruges in Belgium, and he was top goal scorer there. He's versatile as well. I just think he's got a lot of attributes, and he played most of it. He seems to be playing kind of his best football at the moment in time. So I think he could be one to really kind of catapult to a new level this season.
So I'm going to stick with Rangers, although I said about Kerr McInroy being a signing, it's really caught my eye. I think Ridvan Yilmaz from Besiktas he's going to take this league by storm. I spoke to a couple of Turkish journalists who were kind of keeping me up to date with the Yilmaz deal, and they think they are going to get more than what they got in the transfer fee and the sell-on clause. They think this guy's just going to take this league by storm and use this as a stepping stone to the Premier League. They think the world of him. They think they said about him he's a great crosser. He's really forward-thinking. He can defend. I think he could be really good. I'm going for Ridvan Yilmaz. Player of the year, Wilson. Who do you think is going to be lifting the Player of the Year come May?
Again, I kind of struggled with this one, and it was actually a Rangers supporting friend of mine that said, you wonder what Ryan Kent's thinking. That Aribo's managed to secure a big money move, so has Bassey, and I've been a big critic of Ryan Kent, plays one good game in 5. And I wonder if he's thinking, why are these guys getting moving and I'm not? I think he performs better in Europe than he does domestically, if I'm honest. And I just think he might be thinking, I need a big season in me to try. Not that he's trying to get away from me, I'm not saying that, but trying to get a big money move to the Premiership or abroad or something. So I think it's a big season for him, and I just wonder if he'll turn up more frequently. But as Lewis and you've touched on, Scott, a lot of competitions for those front 3 positions at Ibrox. So I think Ryan Kent could be up there. I think Joe Hart could be busy this year. I know goalkeepers don't tend to get Players of the Year, but I think he did okay last year. I don't think he was tested far too much. He didn't pull off the same saves as, say, Alan McGregor did last year. So I think it's a big season for Joe Hart, because Siegrist is equally, a good goalkeeper, and he's not come here to sit as a number 2. I wouldn't have thought. He might be here a wee bit longer. So I looked at them, and just as Lewis again touched on about a young player, I didn't really think about this, but watching the boy McInroy on Saturday, he started at left back. Yeah. And then when Kelly switched to the back 3, he went into kind of left-hand side of centre midfield. He looks a good player, a good solid player, doesn't shirk a challenge, young. So I would go with that. So I'm going to go Joe Hart or Ryan Kent, one from each of the Ugly Sisters, and Kerr McInroy for a young player. Okay,
Lewis, who we got for Player of the Year?
I think a lot will depend on which out of either Celtic and Rangers has a more successful season. But I'm going for Jota at Celtic. Yep. One of the best players, I think, Scottish football scene in recent memory. I really think he's top notch. To get him back on a permanent deal for, what was it, 6.5 million? Yeah. I think that's an absolute steal in my eyes. If he can replicate the flashes of brilliance we became accustomed to seeing last season, then I don't think it'll be long before some of Europe's elite clubs sit up and take note of him. I think it was 13 goals and 14 assists last season, and obviously played a huge role in helping the team win back the Premiership title. And judging by the early signs that I've seen of him in pre-season, particularly I thought against Blackburn Rovers, he looked really sharp, and I think he'll continue to terrorise opposition defences this season. He spoke openly as well about the incentive of Champions League football being a big part of his decision in returning to Parkhead, and he's obviously endeared himself to the fans already by stating that he'd fallen in love with the club. He scores goals, he creates plenty for others, and he's got fabulous technical skill that I think is unmatched in the league.
So Lewis is going for Jota. Charlie, who you got for Player of the Year?
I'm looking at the midfield, and I'm looking at the spoiler, and I think Kent's partner, Lundstrom, I think he'll sit in there and he'll spoil a lot of things. Again, he's probably better in Europe, but I think he'll be in that side. He'll win a lot of tackles, he'll roll his sleeves up, and he can finish, and he can also thread a pass. But also his competition, I think, will be the other side of the city, will be Rio Hatate. I think he's set the heather on fire, and the way he plays is he's the forward thinking as much as Lundstrom sits back. He's the forward thinking guy who he links in with Jota, Kyogo, and all that side. So I would say either of those two will be my player of the year.
I've got two Celtic players down that I'm struggling to split. Callum McGregor, I think will be. I think with a more kind of forward role, I think he'll shine again. I thought he had a terrific season last season, and I'm going to put Matt O'Reilly as well. I think Matt O'Reilly could progress again this season. Mm-hmm. He showed really early glimpses, obviously, and I think with Rogic away, it's noticeable they haven't signed a like-for-like replacement for Rogic. I think they think O'Reilly could be the kind of long-term replacement for Rogic, and I think there was a couple of games last season. I think it was the Hearts game. It was terrific. The game where they scored 2 early goals. I thought it was terrific, that game. I thought it was really good against Rangers as well, actually, the 3-0 game. They were the two kind of games that really stood out for me. I'm going to put O'Reilly. I think Matt O'Reilly, I think he'll be the long-term replacement to Rogic. I think he's a really forward-thinking player. I think he's got a good eye for goal, can pick a really good pass. I think Matt O'Reilly will be the player of the year. I agree with you and Ryan Kent, no, Wilson. I think Ryan Kent's due. I think this, if he's going to sign a new deal, which I think is going to touch and go, I think he needs to stand out if he wants a big move. I think he needs a season where he's really consistent. Let's go to top goal scorer. Charlie, who you got for top goal scorer?
I think initially I'll go with Kyogo Hirakashi, and I think this boy Golak will come in.
Okay.
I think he'll be there or thereabouts, given a competition for Morelos with regards to that. And I also like the boy at Aberdeen, having watched him last Tuesday night against Stirling Albion with regards to there. So there were my kind of three, and I'll go with Kyogo as the top goal scorer.
Okay. Lewis, who you got for top goal scorer?
I'm with Charlie. Kyogo for me. Established himself as one of, if not the best striker in Scotland last season. What was it, 12 goals I think he scored, just one behind Charles Cook and Giakoumakis. So I don't think it was the most impressive year for goals tallies in the Premiership. But I think, if Kyogo had kept himself fit and didn't pick up the injury he did against St Johnstone on Boxing Day, then I think he would have been really tough to catch. I think he'll put that to bed this season. I really do. If providing he can stay fit for the entire duration of the season, that's the big thing. It still looked like he was getting up to speed towards the end of last season when he did return. But I just think, with a full pre-season, he had obviously the extended break. He's come back looking fresh. I think he'll have a slight advantage over either Morelos or Kolak this season, given Morelos was obviously going to miss the first couple of weeks of the campaign as well. So Kyogo, I think, could build up an unassailable lead. I want to give a mention as well. This is totally out of the blue, but young Alex Grieve at St Mirren. Now, I don't know if you guys have seen much of this boy. I watched St Mirren quite a bit last season, and I just think this boy's got something really. Has he scored a lot of wonder goals? Yes. Yeah. Really talented young lad. Gives opposition defences a proper headache. His movement's brilliant. He's got good pace, and he's a real finisher. So if he can pick up from where he left off last season, I don't think he'll be too far away from the top.
So 2 votes for Kyogo so far. Wilson, who you got for top goal scorer?
James Tavernier. The amount of penalties that Rangers will get, I think he'll be 20 goals by Christmas. So if he's still hitting them, it'll 100% be him. Again, and I touched on what I said about Ryan Kent, depending on how much Morales plays, I think he's been tipped for a move for the last 10 seasons, and no one's taken him, but I think he'll be thinking the same. If he plays consistently again, but I think Giakoumakis will be total scorer. I think, a lot of these, Andrews, we never stop or whatever it is, I think Celtic maybe play a wee bit more direct when he plays because he's a big physical presence. I don't think Andrew's going to get away with playing this brilliant quality of football for 90 plus minutes every single week. He's going to have to come up with a plan B. And I think Giakoumakis can do both those jobs. I think he can be, that physical presence, score headers, etc. And again, it comes down to game time. And as I say, the guys touched on about Kyogo's injury last year, maybe which would have been him. But I'll go for the two big hitters. It will be Morelos and Giakoumakis.
I'm going for Giakoumakis. I think Celtic have won a watch with this guy. 33 goals he scored in the Eredivisie for VVV Venlo. Not many guys do that. You need to be quite special to do that. I think as well he didn't play a lot at the early stages of last season. He missed that penalty, and it took him a bit of time to kind of get a run in the team, but he stood out any time I've seen him. I'm going to say something quite controversial here, and you might look at me like I'm daft, but Celtic's best front three, in my opinion, does not include Kyogo. Now, you know how much a fan I am of Kyogo, Wilson, but when Celtic...
Giakoumakis, Maeda.
When you've got Jota, Giakoumakis and Maeda, Jota is obviously a flair player that Lewis touched on. Giakoumakis, your penalty box, kind of physical presence, and Maeda's your workhorse. I think those three work really well together, but when Kyogo's in there, he does a bit of all three. So
Kyogo's a finisher, though.
Aye, he's a finisher. I think he's movement IQ. I think he's brilliant. The only two things that kind of put me off him a wee bit is his injury history and the kind of the wee kind of dives he takes. I think he needs to just eradicate for his game. But other than that, I think Celtic got a brilliant footballer. But I think Giakoumakis is just that kind of penalty box player that I think I really like Charlie, like a Chris Boyd. Just somebody in that box who's just going to take scraps, finish everything.
I have to change my vantage point there, sorry lads.
I'm a big fan of Giakoumakis, and I think he's going to be the top goal scorer this season. But
you just said that, Scott. I mean, you just touched on Celtic's front three, and you've got Abada as well.
Exactly, Abada, even Forrest as well. And I've never been a huge fan of Forrest. Like he's been like a top player, but there's a good list of options. And we were sitting here last year, Wilson, Celtic's bench. We were thinking, who can they bring on?
There's the goals coming for.
And look at them now. It's been a unbelievable progress in the past year. But yeah, I'm going for Giakoumakis for top goal scorer. Let's go for the Championship, League One and League Two now. If you want to see my opinion on these, read the three season previews I've done this week. I'm going to say quickly, Partick Thistle for the Championship, Falkirk for League One, and Stenhousemuir for League Two. Charlie, Championship, League One, League Two.
Championship, Partick Thistle. League One, Queen of the South. And League Two, for obvious reasons, Stirling Albion.
Okay. You shrugged your shoulders there when I said Stenhousemuir.
I saw them on Saturday. They lost the boy. We signed the boy Thompson. I don't know if the boy for large scale will do the goals. Yates is a quality player.
And that boy Orr as well. Was he for
Orr didn't do much on Saturday for there. The one thing
Craig Bryson's a good signing.
Bryson's a great signing. They all heed. And the boy that's played in the middle of the park, Webinar or something like that.
Yeah, I think.
Big long name for there. But for him, middle to front are quite small. Quite a small team, so they're obviously going to play a lot in the ground. Whereas last year, they had the boy Thompson to root wonder for there. But it's all about opinions.
Wilson, Championship, League One, League Two, who you got?
Again, I've got Partick for League One. I'm a big fan of Ian McCall's. I just think they didn't strengthen enough in January to keep up, and then obviously they were left with a massive backlog of games. So I've got Partick as well. I don't think there'll be any outstanding team in that league, to be honest. I think Dundee might be the closest. We'll get Falkirk for League One. I think John McGlynn's maybe the right fit in there. And I was going to take Stirling Albion for League Two, and then I had a look at their scouting department. When absolutely not. So I'm going to go for Annan Athletic for League Two.
Okay. Well, good shout.
Lewis, Championship, League One, League Two. Who's going to win them?
Championship, for me, Partick Thistle as well. I'm with the boys. I actually felt like a part-time season ticket holder at Firhill last season, the amount of times I was there watching them. I think, Ian McCall, he ran with a very tight squad last season. They obviously had the backlog of fixtures to contend with as well, and obviously the playing surface at Firhill was a mess. Given that they were ground sharing with Queen's Park, they don't have that to worry about this year. And the pitch has been relayed and it looks in much better nick. And they've got a good blend of youth and experience now, bringing guys like Aaron Muirhead, Danny Mullen, Stevie Lawless, good experienced heads. And they've managed to bring in Cole McKinnon, Tony Weston on loan from Rangers.
Harry Milne for Cove as well.
Yeah. So I think the recruitment's been really good. And they finally have Danny Mullen as well. I think he can take a bit of pressure off Brian Graham. They relied heavily on him in terms of scoring goals last season. So, I'm going with Partick to win Championship. League One for me, Falkirk. I'm with Mark. I think the appointment of John McGlynn is a real positive move. I think he'll be the catalyst in terms of transforming their fortunes. He obviously won the SPFL Trust Trophy, did a great job with Wraith, and he's his contacts in the game as well. He's already he's kind of utilised that, bringing in some really experienced players for that level. Stephen McGinn, Henderson, Gary Oliver, guys like that. Dunfermline as well. They'll make it tough. I think it'll be a real two-horse race in that league, but I see Falkirk edging it. And for League Two, I'm going for Forfar Athletic. The Loons. Perhaps I thought this was actually one of the hardest divisions to call. I really do. Several teams I think will be fancying their chances. Dumbarton, East Fife looking for a quick return to League One, and Bonnyrigg Rose as well coming up from the Lowland League, keeping pretty much every member of their squad. So, but no, Forfar for me. I just think they finished runners up last season, narrowly missed out in promotion via the playoffs. Again, retained most of their squad, and they've added good players. I think Nathan Flanagan, I've always rated him. Attacking midfielder, and they brought in James Keatings as well, and Thomas Brindley, the young boy from Kilmarnock, on a permanent deal. So I think they've recruited well, and see them winning League Two.
Brilliant. Who is going to win the two cups, the Scottish Cup and the League Cup? I think Rangers will win them both. I think Rangers are going to win both cups. Charlie, who's going to win the Scottish Cup and the League Cup?
After an easy option, I think both teams will retain. I think Rangers will win the Scottish and Celtic will win the Premier Sports. Okay. I think the both teams will retain. The only reason I can't see either Rangers or Celtic winning them is for the most common sense reason, if they're drawn together. For we spoke about it in the beginning of the show. The league's going to be tight, and I think they're going to dominate. And as much as Hearts finished third with 20 odd points, I think that'll leave them be a bigger gulf, and they'll be a lot closer to the rest of the teams for there. So for knockout tournaments, 90 minutes away from home, sometimes you can get them on a bad day. So Scottish Cup, Rangers, Premier Sports Cup, League Cup, call it whatever you want, Celtic.
Lewis, who's going to win both cups?
I'm going for Rangers as well, same with Charlie, to retain the Scottish Cup. I think they'll make it back-to-back successes. And for the League Cup, I'm going for Hearts.
Okay.
They obviously enter the competition at the second round stage. I think they can put their Scottish Cup disappointment to bed. They haven't actually reached the final of the League Cup since they lost to St Mirren in 2013, and I don't think they've won it for over 60 years. But I think that they'll end that weight this year. They didn't do in all honesty, I didn't think they actually did much wrong in the Scottish Cup final. Craig Gordon, obviously some inspired goalkeeping to take the match into extra time, and they just ran out of puff a bit in the end. But I'm going for Hearts to win the League Cup.
Wilson, who's going to win both cups?
I'm going with Charlie. I think that's going to be. I think Celtic will, be in fire early doors. And again, I think it always depends on the league. I can't see either team doing a treble, to be honest. But I can't see neither team not winning something. So I'll just echo what Charlie said. But just as you said, Scott, there about Rangers winning both domestic trophies. Do you think Van Bronckhorst under pressure if that's what it does this year?
Depends how they do in Europe, I think. But I think the league's the number one target. But
I think that's.
I
just wonder if Rangers have obviously, he's a big name, big hitter, been brought in, been given plenty of money, and he's not won the league.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one because, like as you say,
are the Rangers fans going to be happy with 2 Scottish Cups out of 8 trophies?
Here's a thing I thought as well. Say Rangers get put out in the quarterfinals last season of the Europa League, there would have been calls for Van Bronckhorst to, like, there would have been
if he'd only won the Scottish Cup.
Yeah, I think so. But I think Van Bronckhorst, I think he's better than Gerrard tactically. I think, like, one thing that impressed me with Rangers is last season, like particularly kind of towards the end, they were so much fitter than they were before. Like, they were coming off that game against Braga to then go and beat Celtic in a cup semi-final. They just look so much fitter. I think they're a proper, like, cup team. I don't know if
Madden's last revenge though. That was on that. Madden's last revenge.
But if you said, like, do I think Rangers will win 10 games in a row in the league? I don't think so. And I think that's the only reason I'm going for Celtic to win the league. I just think that Celtic are more consistent. But in a one-off cup game, I think Rangers could beat anybody.
If the Celtic, when they get put out of the Champions League, if they finish third, do they drop into Europa League? If they finish fourth, they're out of Europe. Is that right?
That's right.
It's the same process again this year. You parachute.
I think, Lewis touched on there about Jota. Jota's got these 6 Champions League games, and that's the only European football he'll be getting.
But here, like, I fancy Rangers to go further in Europe because I just think they're tactically more organised. I can see Celtic having some bad nights in Europe just because.
Yeah. And they'll be lucky to get more points in the Champions League, Celtic.
I think that's down to Van Bronckhorst having played European football, been involved in European football.
And I think it's that Dutch. I think it's that Dutch
thing. Is not. I
think it's that Dutch thing as well. Like the Dutch, you listen to any Dutch manager, it's always defend first, and then we'll take care of everything else.
And as I'm not sure he's not capable. That's the wrong word, but he's not going to park the bus. He's going to turn up at the Bernabeu and go 4-3-3 and get absolutely.
Brendan Rodgers. Yeah. Brendan Rodgers was terrific domestically, but Brendan Rodgers against Barcelona and PSG, there was some pummelings in there.
Yeah, and that's where I think Celtic will finish bottom of their Champions League group. That's why I think they'll win the league. I know that sounds ridiculous, but that's why I think they'll win the league.
Kind of what I'm thinking as well. Right, we'll close the final prediction of the wee off the cuff one that I've just thought of in the past hour or so. One thing this season that you think will happen. So a wee storyline that you think will happen. It could be a manager leaving, a player leaving. We could have some big story that kicks off over the course of the season. I'm going to go first. The reason I haven't put Kyogo Furuhashi for Player of the Year or top goal scorer is I think he will leave in January. I think a big team will come in for him in January because I think he's magnificent. I think he's a top player. I can see him having a really good start if he stays fit and a Premier League team.
He's not the biggest team in the world. So what do you mean by a big team?
I think I genuinely
in a bigger league.
I think a Premier League. I think he's. That's what we're saying.
So is he better than Nunes, Firmino, Jota?
No, but you know what I mean. Like
better than Haaland.
Well.
So is it going to be again? And it's a wee bit like I think personally, I think Joe Aribo's a better player than going to Southampton.
Yeah.
I thought that's Armstrong.
Yeah.
And I know the riches of the Premier League that it brings. I appreciate all that, but again, I have never ever understood why a player would leave Celtic or Rangers at the top of their game, again, apart from money, and go to Southampton, Burnley, Middlesbrough.
It's that league. It's that animal with that league.
I know it's financial in that sense, set for life, but I never understood that with any player that's, because Aribo's a starter, and I'm quite sure he'll be a starter for Southampton. I just think Rangers, Champions League, Southampton finishing 16th every year.
No.
But the thing I see I think the thing that I see is obviously number one's money, but number two is your weekly games. So where are you playing this week? We're away to Livingston, we're away to Ross County, we're away to Kilmarnock, we're away to St Mirren. You go down to the Premier League, where are you? We're away to Everton, we're away to Liverpool, we're away to Man United, we're away to Man City. That's what I think sways their decision as well. For there. I think it's as much as the lure of Champions League football, but you're right in what you said, that might only be 6 games, 7 games or whatever, whereas you're getting 22 games of, should we say, higher caliber games.
I don't know that, but I wouldn't, again, I would like to think if I was ever in that position, and again, apart from financial, if I was a Celtic or Rangers starter every week, every game, I wouldn't be going to anyone probably below Newcastle. You're obviously a big top 6, maybe Newcastle, you know.
You've got to go in there and be a starter.
I wouldn't be going to Everton or Southampton or Nottingham Forest or any of these guys by leaving Celtic and Rangers. Absolutely no chance.
Had to go and sit on the bench or whatever the case may be. Yeah.
I just think there's something about Kyogo. We spoke about it last year. His IQ, his movement, he's a terrific finisher. I just think he's.
Think he's going to follow then Sunsuke?
Yeah.
Think he's going to go that way, that he came across to Celtic to put himself in the shop, to go in to try and go into European football.
I think every player coming from that continent, that's their ambition to do that.
It will be.
Like, I even think like Yilmaz coming from Turkey. The plan is England's such a big animal, that Premier League.
Is that a kind of boom song move? You know, get him in for 5, sell him for 15 or whatever it is.
Possibly.
Yeah.
I was disappointed actually that Celtic didn't go for the boy Itakura over the summer. I know they went earlier in the window, but I've watched him a couple of times. I'm pleasantly surprised. You know, obviously the competition at Manchester City is extremely strong, but he's another young Japanese talent who I think
he's went to Mönchengladbach. I think.
Yeah, he has. Yeah.
But as we say, there's
no good enough for Celtic.
Right, Wilson. What's your one thing that will happen this season?
I've got 2.
Okay.
I'm going to go for the opposition get a penalty at Ibrox. There you go. I know that's out with the realms of Scottish football. There's no chance of playing Quidditch with Harry Potter than that. But and I'm going to go for 4 SPL managers sacked before the World Cup.
Okay. You want to name
them? Okay. I'll go Robinson, Alexander, Johnston, and Callum Davison.
Okay.
I don't want to see any of them sacked, of course not, but as I said, we kind of mentioned earlier, if Davison off to a bad start, they'll need to react. You can only dine out on what he achieved early doors. As I say, I think we all agree that Hibs are falling apart at the seams. I think Alexander came under P tonight, and as I say, I'm not a great fan of the Robinson thing at St Mirren. I just don't think that's a good fit there. Okay. So I'm going to go 4 SPL managers sacked before the World Cup.
That first one's the reason I've missed this show. I was seeing it coming.
That's just for Jimmy Taylor at Stuart and Stephen Greenlees at Shankers, all these guys. That's just a wee one, because they'll be raging. I've been quite serious tonight. They'll be raging.
Brilliant.
Let's go across to the VAR room and all the referees.
Lewis, what is the one thing you think will happen this season?
I'm going down the lower league, Scott. Montrose today signed Rory McAllister from Cove Rangers.
Okay.
I think he'll hit 20 plus goals for
Okay.
Montrose. Now,
he originally came from Montrose, didn't he?
He was at Peterhead.
Was it?
Aye.
Yeah.
And he was linked with apparently Brecon City in the Highland League came in for the other day at a five-figure sum accepted by Cove and Montrose. I've snuck in there. And I'm told that Rory McAllister didn't want to play Highland League football because he's feared of the mighty Fraserburgh, my dad's hometown team. The Highland League title this year. He didn't fancy taking on the mighty Fraserburgh. So that's why he's gone to Montrose, and I think he'll do really well there.
Has there been a falling out with Jim McIntyre there? Was that?
He's talked previously. I know he had the offer to join Aberdeen a couple of years ago.
Has he not got a really good job?
He's a gas engineer.
Aye. I think he said something it's better wages doing that than playing full time.
Yeah.
That's why That's why when he was obviously at Peterhead, I thought he was previously. That's why he was at Peterhead. He never went full time because he had a fantastic job and he was raking in the money. Pardon the expression.
I remember when Rangers were down the lower leagues, it was whispers like
Kenny Duca.
Aye, exactly. He was a doctor, wasn't he?
He was a doctor, aye.
But there was whispers when Rangers were in the lower leagues that like McCoy did try to get him to sign, and I think there was something like his job was too good or something. But Charlie, let's close the predictions with the one thing that will happen this season.
Televised game will be abandoned because of a floodlight failure.
I was waiting on something like a televised game will be stopped because of VAR decision and there'll be a riot.
Don't you be grading these SPL stadiums to Oculus floodlights, Charlie? And are the new ones at Glenafton? There'll be 50 pences in the meters.
I think every junior grounds now in the Premier League get floodlights and for there.
But we are.
What was your prediction, Scott? Sorry, did I miss you?
I said Kyogo Furuhashi will
Kyogo, that's right. Kyogo away to Crystal Palace and a swap deal for French Eddie. There you go.
I had another one written down that I think a West team will get to the 5th round of Scottish Cup.
That'll be Talbot against Hearts. Time in 6 years.
Narvel will go on a run with the players they brought in this summer. I see the Ross Meehan signed the other day. That's a real coup for them. I don't know where the money's coming from down there, but they've assembled a really good squad. I was kind of surprised they didn't beat Trinent in the playoff to get into the Lowland League.
That was a bit of a surprise.
Yeah. How'd you keep them all happy though?
To find out more, look at our new West of Scotland show coming up this week on SM Media. We are going to wrap up the show there. It's been an absolute pleasure with the guys to do this. Get the show back up and running. Wilson, it's a pleasure as always. Welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me on, and I'll see you all in May with my 12 out of 12 predictions, so I can text Rory Lloyd back and show them.
Charlie, pleasure as always. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Scott. I'll be delighted to buy Marco a refereeing kit so we can see him wear it. And I might even organise a game.
Easiest job in the world, giving penalties to Rangers. Easiest job in the world.
I'll organise a game for you to referee.
Lewis, it's been an absolute pleasure as well to have you on for the first time. It's been really enjoyable.
Thanks very much, Scott. It might be the last time given some of my predictions tonight. So
we'll be back in May. You'll be back on in May. We'll review it in May. But thank you very much to everyone that's tuned in. It's my pleasure to be back doing the Scottish Football Show, and we will see you all soon. Thanks very much.